Welcome to Order Militaris Radio TV. We here are lifelong Catholics, and what we do here is all for free. The love of Jesus Christ and the Most Holy Trinity in His Holy Church, and will defend our Holy Mother, the Church. Our work is a true sense of apostolate. Any funds raised goes back into this work for equipment. This helps us to give you an unbiased, hard-hitting truth that is not controlled by political correctness or interest groups. Order Militaris Radio TV is an apostolate of Order Militaris Catholicus. We also work on humanitarian work, raising humanitarian funds for different causes, and also to start up security operations lawfully and legally around the world to defend Christians from persecution. And today's normally scheduled broadcast will be not so, and we'll be talking about the Nice terror attack and the potential terrorist attack in Avignon, France, the attack in Saudi Arabia, in two locations. We welcome Brother Alexis Bonello to the show.
Thank you, AJ. It's glad to be with you, but a very sad occasion as we talk about this horrific attack in France and in the city of Nice, in particular, a city that suffered one of the most horrific acts of Islamic terrorist carnage just a few years ago when a madman drove a truck down the boulevard and ran over and mashed to pieces 86 human beings.
And after that attack in Nice at that time, we called that we should be able to form some sort of subsidiary in France, especially in Nice, to offer protection.
Yeah, it was an intention of our American company to found a subsidiary in Nice after that attack, and we had some contacts at Nice, but they were afraid what people would think of them. We were going to open an office and offer security for Christians and Christian sites against terrorism and promote a general attitude of security in the city, which has a very high Islamic population.
Mm-hmm.
But our offer was not received, and now we have the sad task of reciting what happened this morning at morning mass just a few hours ago. So AJ, why don't you start with the facts?
Okay. So, yeah. A terrorist knife attack just took place in Notre Dame Basilica in Nice. At least two people reportedly killed, one of whom would have been beheaded or slaughtered. Now, the first one who was killed in the basilica was a 70-year-old sacristan who also took care of the basilica and handled the keys of the basilica. She was a 70-year-old woman, and I think either outside of it, there are another woman and a man who was on their way becoming beheaded, but he couldn't finish the act because the police got there and shot and wounded the terrorists.
In all, and then another man was injured. So in all now, the death toll is 3. I mean, it seems that the two that he was attempting to decapitate, he had already slit their throats. And I point out that in the Islamic calendar every year, they celebrate a feast where they decapitate cattle. They actually not just cut the throats, but they decapitate it. It's part of the festival. I forget the name of it is, but and you coming of age in the Islamic world, you're expected to take a knife and cut the head off of an animal on that feast day, and that's how you come of age. So they all know how to do it. And that feast day is part of the calendar because Muhammad taught Muslims to chop the heads off of unbelievers. And that's how the religion has spread around the world by massacring, exterminating its opposition. Today is the day on which Muslims celebrate the birthday of Muhammad.
Yep.
So there is a lot of cultural significance in the attack on a Catholic church in Nice, France on this day, but this is not the only attack. There were two others.
Yeah. In Avignon, France, if people remember, Avignon used to be the home of the papacy during Avignon papacy times, where there was many anti-popes, and then the true pope resided in Avignon. And another terrorist was going to stab a policeman there, and they shot and killed that terrorist. Then, trying to find the name of the
Jeddah. It was at Jeddah in Saudi Arabia.
The embassy council person of France was attacked and stabbed at Jeddah, and there was also a report of another attack at another French embassy in Mecca.
So it seems to be a day, well, I don't know much about Islam, but I don't know why they're celebrating the birthday of Muhammad by stabbing people. It seems to be really sick. Nigel Farage called them by a true name, Islamofascists, in the sense of, for the sake of their religion, they're willing to do the most horrible and heinous acts. And of course, we're not talking about all Muslims, but all three of these individuals that doing the attacks were Muslim, and that's not a coincidence. And if we can insist on seeing it as a coincidence, then we'll never understand. And
yeah.
Now, Notre Dame Basilica in Nice, France, is a beautiful Gothic church, and it is right on the main boulevard, so anyone can walk in and out during Mass. And no security. They have fences around the front, but they evidently didn't have any kind of guards at the doors, which is really a great oversight, since just 2 weeks ago, a school teacher in Paris was beheaded by a Chechen Muslim for talking about, showing, I think, cartoons of Muhammad.
Yeah. And they weren't, the silly looking cartoons we have here in the United States. There's the actual true animated type cartoon of the Prophet Muhammad, showing what he truly was. And the teacher died for showing the truth about Muhammad, and now France is under attack.
The thing I don't understand is we don't know what Muhammad did except what is written in the Quran and in the other Islamic writings. So if we merely communicate what he did, why should that upset Muslims? You don't see any Christian getting upset if you recount to us what happened in the Gospels. We'll say it's absolutely wonderful. You're telling us what happened in the Gospels. So if Muslims react with violence to that, then it must be because they somehow know what he did is wrong and that he's not a holy man. So I hope they see the internal contradiction of responding with violence to the depictions of Muhammad.
Yeah.
No Christian makes cartoons of Muhammad to promote devotion to Muhammad. So it's not a question of idolatry. And
and it wasn't, devotional or anything. I mean, that teacher created it to tell the honest truth about that Muhammad. I mean, it was nasty, folks.
Did he actually create the cartoons?
I think so, or he went to Charlie Hebdo and get it done. But
okay. But here in Nice, though, there is no reason. It's not like the Basilica of Notre Dame had signs outside to offend Muslims. It's just a Catholic church, people quietly worshiping the Christian religion. from the pictures I see from the outside of the buildings, no signs or anything that's anti-Islamic, or there's no reason for that at all. So now the fact that Frenchmen in 3 places were attacked on the same day, just after Erdogan said that the president of France has a mental issue because he's Islamic phobic, leads me to think, as president of Order Militaris Inc., a Catholic company to dedicated defense of Christians from terrorism, that this has something to do with Erdogan inciting terrorism against Christians. And we do not yet know the identity of the 3 attackers, but well, if they all turn out to be Turks, then it will be a state. The question we'll have to raise is whether it's state-sponsored terrorism by Turkey, and that they just activated some of their network.
Yeah.
But when I think of the victims there in the Church of Notre Dame, that 7-year-old sacristan, that lady, she could have been any one of us's mother or grandmother. And you go to church to worship Jesus Christ and prepare for eternal life, but to have your throat slit and your head cut off right before Mass beginning is the epitome of everything wrong in modern French society on questions of security. And this woman would be alive today if the government hadn't allowed all these Muslims into France.
Yeah.
And her blood is on their hands. And Macron recently praised Macron for talking about how Muslims need to integrate, but it's the parties and the people that backed him. He's Rothschilds backed him, and they're Jewish, they're not French. These people who have promoted the anti-Christian, anti-French immigration policies in the last 50 years in France, the blood's on their hands. They're the ones, because I'm not exculpating the Muslim who committed the deed, but he had help. He had to be let into the country by someone. And it might turn out, like many of these attackers, that they have a long criminal record, a long one.
I would probably say it would also be those who were our contacts in Nice after that terrorist attack, who got cold feet and said, no, we don't want to do that security work here.
Yeah, well, I hope if they're still out there and they still listen to our programs that they wake up now. We told them years ago. But this is not the only place Christians being attacked. I mean, overnight, a maternity ward was bombed by the Azerbaijan Azerbaijani army in the town of Sushi in Artsakh Republic, and a lot of civilian housings was bombed. This is clear acts of genocide and ethnocide. Genocide because by destroying the maternity ward, you're saying we don't want you to populate the area anymore, and that's genocide. And blowing up civilian housing, that's ethnocide, is saying we don't want you to come back. And this is an Muslims attacking Christians. And then now all throughout Poland, the last few days, hordes of left-wing radical atheistic terrorists have been attacking Catholic churches. They even tried to attack Jasnogora last night, Our Lady's Shrine at Czestochowa. And our saints have told us that worldwide persecution is going to break out. It seems now that it's beginning. And we have all these attacks just in the last 24 hours, 36 hours.
Yeah. And for the former professional motorcycle racer, now mayor of Nice, Christian Estrosi, like, oh, we got to close down the churches. No, that's what they want you to do. They want Christianity gone. You want
one of the, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, How did Catholics in the Middle Ages maintain security? Catholics in the Middle Ages maintained security using prudence.
Mhm.
You don't let people who want to kill you, whose religion tells you to kill you, who are told every Friday to kill you, into your country. You might let them into port to trade, but then they have to get back on their boat and head back, and they certainly can't come with their families.
Mhm.
And if you had an event like this happen in East France in the Middle Ages, the city guard would have gone through the entire city and deported every Muslim overnight. That would be the end of it. Because you can't have a population that's going to, every now and then, chop off an old lady's head in church. That's just not tolerable. And that doesn't
Mhm.
mean all Muslims are at fault. It means, however, that it's just too costly and too difficult for us Christians to determine which of you Muslims are not madmen are going to chop our head off, because you all openly admit to belong to religion that says chop our head off. So you've your reputation is already damaged. You're a security risk. You're an what's called an objective security risk. Personally, you may not ever do it, but since you subscribe to an organization and being a member of an organization that tells you to do it, then you must be assumed to be a risk.
Mhm.
And this was the great wisdom of the Catholic kings of Spain in 1492, who expelled the Muslims from Spain. And this is not racism.
Mhm.
Okay, racism is when you expel all black people, regardless of their religion or anything or motivation, without any of them having ever done anything to you. Okay, but when one ethnic group belongs to religion who all agree that they should kill you, even though they personally may not have the courage to do it, then expelling them from your country isn't racism, it's security, because they're the ones that are racist. Okay, so just like the KKK went around burning black people alive, that organization rightfully was suppressed and laws were levied against it. Any organization that is racist and violent and terrorist needs to be deported and suppressed, even if it's an entire ethnic group. You know,
Mhm.
and unless they openly and personally repudiate it. I mean, if someone came from an Islamic country and says, "I renounce Islam, I think it's a dangerous religion," then yeah, a person like that could be considered to become a citizen of a nation because he's separated from it. But many Muslims are not that way. No, alas.
Yeah. Um, there's not much any new news coming out.
I do want to point out, as president of Order Militaris Inc., we are a Montana company organized in the state of Montana, uh, legally authorized to sell stock. We have been around 4 years, and we have been pounding the pavement, reminding people that you don't have security unless you're secure and prepare, and you have to be prepared. And the best preparation is training large numbers of civilians to know how to do it. And in our own countries, we can promote security by founding security companies and training programs so people know how to defend themselves. France is certainly a country that's long overdue for a national security company that trains Christians to defend their own churches. This guy, with carrying a big knife, probably should not have been allowed even to enter the church. There should have been men at the door. Okay, especially in a city like Nice, which has a large Muslim population. It doesn't matter whether there is going to be an attack or you think is going to be an attack if you don't know it. 2 weeks ago, a man was beheaded in Paris. So that should have raised security on all churches around France for the next 3 months. And there should have been men stationed at every door, and no one should have been allowed to enter unless he was a Catholic and not
Mhm.
armed. And Catholics should have been armed in the church. Okay. And Catholic men who are veterans should have been told, come to daily mass with packing your gun so that if anything happens, you can react quickly to it. And none of this was done because there is no such organization like that in France, although we've encouraged the French now for 4 years to start one. We haven't yet found anyone with the determination to do it. And we encourage this in every country where attacks. There's attacks like this go on in Mexico. There are attacks in churches in the United States. Thankfully, in the United States, it's mostly just vandalism. The churches that have been attacked with violence have been Protestant churches, but nevertheless, even they could use some security training. And in other countries, it's different things. Well, sometimes in the streets here in Italy, just last month, a priest had his throat slit right outside his parish by a Muslim. So it's long overdue, and we're willing to help. We have a lot of experts willing to help, but we can't do it without training facilities and an active corporation. So if you want to put an end to this kind of stuff, I think it's pretty obvious right now that the problem is not going to be solved by your governments. Your governments are causing the problem, and they're not solving the problem.
Mhm.
But so in the meantime, what we need is private initiative of Catholics. So I'd invite you to come to ordo-militaris.us. It's just like Ordo Militaris behind AJ's head there. If you lower your head there a moment, AJ, ordo-militaris.us, and go to our investment page. You can look at our stock offering, and our Y stock is to build a trading facility in the United States, and our T stock is to build facilities in other countries like France. And this is the best investment you can make, because we are a company that will promote the protection of Christians persecuted around the world. And once we have training facilities, then thousands of Christians from all around the world, Catholics especially, will be able to come together, train together, and start a whole new culture of security that we need desperately to begin, because we're no longer living in this secure, safe world, because our politicians have made our countries unsafe. And the terrorism that was prevalent 10 years ago overseas in the Mideast and Africa has come now to the West, and without ceasing even in those countries. So we need security all around. And we're willing to help, but we need investors, okay, for the facilities. And I encourage you to take a serious consideration and decide that this is the day you're going to do something about it. A lot of people who use social media and are able to watch these videos that we produce have sufficient funds where they could invest 5, 10,000. Okay, and we don't need a few of you to do this, and we'd be able to start the corporation's activities and really have an impact on protecting people. So it's only a beginning. It's a big problem, but we have to begin somewhere. And the whole legal structure and preparation is all done. That's what we've done the last 4 years. We've got all the legal permissions to do what we need to do. We have permission to sell stock, and we have contacts with 300 military experts around the world. So we have men willing to help train. It's only the funding that we lack now. It's only the funding. So I encourage you to come to ordo-militaris.us and look at our investment page and look at our Y and T stock. And if you're interested, write our headquarters and we'll send you a prospectus.
Yep. So I'll be checking out the news later today. Might be a couple of weeks till they release the name of the terrorists in Nice and Avion and Saudi Arabia. So we'll be sure to share it on Twitter and elsewhere. So stay tuned to our social media accounts and to our video pages and everything. This is Ordo Militaris Radio TV signing off. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.